Happy holidays, YouTubers! I'm gonna show you how to do a little motorcycle arts and craft project today. We're gonna make a Santa hat for your helmet. This is Will's, so I'm gonna use this as my template to make my own. He got this one online for like 50 bucks from some lady, so I think we can do a cheaper alternative to that. It's pretty basic. Basically, it's just a larger diameter regular Santa hat with 3 Velcro strips attached to it. There's 2 Velcro pieces in the front that go under the visor, and then one that just goes in the back on your neck. So I went to Michael's and got 2 Santa hats for $3 or $4 each to make one large Santa hat. I also got some strips of Velcro. This is like 30-inch piece. We're really only going to use the rough part of the Velcro, not the soft part. You'll need a measuring tape, scissors, and some thread. Doesn't really matter what color because you don't see it. So I'm kind of doing this as I go. I'm not really working off a template or anything, so I'm hoping it works and I don't totally mess up. So the first thing I need to do is cut down the seams on both hats. I'm not going to use a seam ripper because that's a lot of work, so I'm just taking scissors and cutting right down the seam. Basically, I just cut to the left and right of the seam, which leaves you with a little strip of fabric left over. So just go ahead and cut that off with the little poof ball on the end. You can cut that one off too. It'll just get in the way and you don't need it right now. My hat came with a weird inner liner. I think it's like a sweatband, so I just went ahead and cut that off. Now I need it to measure the circumference of my helmet, but in my case I just used Will's Santa hat and it came out to exactly 35 inches. So basically I needed each of my pieces to be about 18 and a half inches wide. I wanted to allow myself about an inch slack for when I sew the seams together. So since my pieces were 23 inches, I needed them to be 18. So that's a 5-inch difference. So I took 2.5 inches off each side, which I just measured and marked with a Sharpie on the bottom edge. I just cut up the seams by hand. It was pretty easy. I mean, you can use a ruler if you want to. Just cut all the way up to the tip of the hat. Now we're ready to pin our pieces together to be sewn. Just a little tip for sewing. When you're making seams, you want to face the 2 outsides together and sew it from the inside out. So that way when you flip it, you can't see the seam. So just make sure you have the 2 soft, fuzzy sides facing each other. Now you only need about 4 pins to pin up along just one of the seams for now. Now you're ready to start sewing your seams together, but I'm doing this wrong here. Start at the red part, don't sew the white rim part yet. Just sew the red part. Now you can remove the pins and inspect the first side that you've done. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now you have one large piece of fabric that all of it will be used for your hat now. Now you can go ahead and pin the other seam and sew that. Remember though, don't sew the white part, just the red part. Now is also the time to close off the top tip of the hat. Now comes the moment of truth to see if the hat fits. It fits perfect, so now we can go ahead and attach the ball at the top and fix the white seams on the side. So with the hat turned right side out, fold down the white rim and sew the 2 sides together, just like you did with the red seam. So now that I know my circumference is good, I'm going to attach the 3 Velcro strips, and like I said, we're only going to be using the rough pieces. I picked up this 30-inch piece of Velcro for about 10 bucks at Michael's. So I measured the Velcro strips on Will's hat and they were about 8 inches long, so I cut 3 pieces at that length. So now I just need to determine where I want the back strap to go in the very center of the hat. Make sure when you sew on the Velcro that you're sewing it to the red part and not the white fabric, because when you flip the white fabric up, it will cover any stitching that you may see on the red. So give yourself about 1/2 inch to 1 inch space on the red to sew your piece of Velcro on, and make sure again that it's in the very center of the hat. Now you can pin on the front 2 pieces, which to my measurements were exactly 6 inches apart. So I went ahead and I measured that on my hat and just marked it again with the Sharpie. I just went 3 inches out from the center, and that's where I marked it. I sewed it in a square pattern with an X through it to reinforce it a little bit. Now I'm ready to attach the white poofy ball to the tip of the hat. So mine still had a piece of the seam attached to it, which ended up being helpful because what I did was cut a tip in the top of the hat and thread that through to attach it. With the hat turned inside out, I first sewed it from the inside. I flipped it right side out and it still was dangling a little bit, so I just went ahead and hand sewed it back down a little bit closer to the tip of the hat. Now my hat's pretty much good to go. I made sure that ball on the end is on there pretty well. It will flop around while you're riding and you'll hear it hitting your helmet a little bit. The last thing I want to do is just stitch the white rim down around the seam area. It just looks a little bit better and more flush against the helmet. Now that you're done with your hat, you can try it out on the helmet. Unfortunately with mine, I am not able to raise my visor while the hat is on. I guess it kind of just depends on what brand helmet and what type of visor you have. I did put some sticky Velcro pieces on the inside of my helmet for the tabs to stick to because I felt that going on freeway speeds that it might not be super safe. But now that you can see, the hat fits snugly on my helmet and I'm ready to ride. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already checked out my new and improved website, it's monicaridsmoto.com. I hope everybody has a happy holidays. And make sure you post a video response or comment if you try this out yourself. I'd love to see how they turn out. And no, I will not make one for you.